Have you ever wondered what true terror looks like amidst a snowstorm's blinding white? Imagine, if you will, the bitter cold of a winter's night, the wind howling like a beast at your door. The world outside is a barren wasteland of white, snowflakes swirling in a wild dance as they blanket the ground. It's in these conditions that fear finds a perfect breeding ground where danger lurks unseen, shrouded by the snowstorm's icy veil. Snowstorms, by their nature, are isolating. They cut us off from the rest of the world, leaving us stranded in our own homes. This isolation can be comforting, a chance to cozy up with a hot drink and watch the world turn white. But what happens when that comforting solitude turns into a chilling confinement? Let's delve into a chilling tale that's as real as the frosty breath you see on a cold winter's day. This isn't a tale spun from the mind of a horror writer, but a disturbing true story of a family trapped in their home during a massive snowstorm. As the snowfall intensified, so did their fear. The world outside their windows was a swirling mass of white, a wall of snow that kept them prisoners in their own home. As the hours turned into days, the once cozy house began to feel more like an icy prison. The warmth of the hearth couldn't stave off the creeping chill of fear that seeped into their hearts. Every creak of the house, every howl of the wind amplified their terror. Their minds began to play tricks on them, shadows morphing into menacing figures, the wind whispering threats in their ears. The real horror of a snowstorm is not just the physical peril it brings, but the psychological torment it can inflict. When you're trapped, isolated, with no way of knowing when your icy imprisonment will end, your mind can become your worst enemy. As the snow piled higher, the family's fear grew deeper, their home turning into an icy prison. Stay tuned as we delve deeper into this chilling tale, unveiling the frosty fear that comes when a snowstorm turns a haven into a prison. Frozen in fear they were as the storm raged outside their once safe haven. Imagine a family, huddled together in the heart of their home, the only warmth coming from the flickering flames of their fireplace. The wind howled and the snow pounded against the windows, a relentless symphony of nature's fury. As the temperature dropped and the fire dwindled, the family's attempts to stay warm became more desperate. They bundled up in every blanket they could find, their breaths visible in the frigid air. The once familiar sounds of their home were drowned out by the storm, replaced by new, eerie noises. It began with a soft scratching, almost imperceptible over the cacophony of the tempest. The family dismissed it, attributing it to the storm. But as the night wore on, the scratching grew louder, more persistent, accompanied by an occasional thump like the sound of heavy footsteps. The fear that had been simmering now boiled over. They searched their home, each room colder and darker than the last. And then, in the attic, they found him. An unwelcome visitor, seeking shelter from the storm. His eyes held a wild look, his clothes were tattered and covered in snow. He grinned at them, a chilling laugh echoing through the house. The family was struck with terror. This man, this stranger, had invaded their sanctuary, turning their refuge into a house of horrors. As the storm continued to rage outside, they were trapped inside with a menace they didn't understand. But the most terrifying part, the stranger wasn't the only uninvited guest. In the shadows, more eyes glowed, more figures lurked. As the family retreated, the stranger's laughter followed them, a cruel reminder of their predicament. With the intruder's chilling laughter echoing in their ears, they realized their snowbound nightmare had only just begun. This is but one of many chilling chronicles of true snowstorm horror stories. The storm outside may be brutal, but sometimes, the real terror lies within. When the cold seeped in, it wasn't just the temperature that dropped, but their hope too. Picture this, a group of friends, as close as family, take a trip to a remote cabin, nestled in the heart of winter's embrace. They arrive with anticipation, their laughter echoing off the frosted trees, their breath visible in the crisp air. The cabin, their sanctuary against the biting cold, promises a weekend of fun and camaraderie. But as the first flakes of snow began to fall, so did the illusion of a perfect getaway. The snowflakes, innocent at first, soon transformed into a relentless snowstorm. The world outside their windows was blanketed in white, a sight as beautiful as it was terrifying. The once friendly forest was now a frozen wasteland, the cabin, an island in a sea of snow. As the evening settled, they huddled around the fireplace, the crackling flames casting long shadows on the walls. They shared stories, their voices a comforting melody against the howling wind outside. But then, the unthinkable happened. With a suddenness that left them in stunned silence, the power went out. The warm glow of the room was replaced by the cold, unforgiving darkness. The reassuring hum of the heater, the gentle light of the lamps, all snuffed out in an instant. Suddenly the cabin didn't feel as cozy anymore. The walls seemed to close in, the silence echoing louder than any laughter. The storm outside was no longer just a backdrop to their evening but a menacing presence. The cold creeping in through the cracks, making their breaths hitch and their hearts pound. And then, the unexplained occurrences began. Shadows flickered where there was no source of light. Soft whispers floated through the air, a sinister lullaby in the dead of night. The once jovial atmosphere was replaced by a tension you could cut with a knife. The friends huddled together, their faces a mask of fear. As the lights flickered off, their jovial laughter was replaced by the deafening silence of dread. In the chilling silence, their worst fears came to life. Picture this. A group of friends huddled together in a remote cabin, lost in a world of white. The snowstorm outside was relentless, a blizzard that held them captive, a prisoner to the biting cold. The power was out, their connection to the outside world severed like a lifeline cut too soon. Imagine the deafening quiet, broken only by the occasional creak of the cabin settling, the howl of the wind, or the crackle of their dwindling fire. It was in this silence that they first heard it, a sound that didn't belong. A whisper, a rustle, a subtle disturbance that set their nerves on edge. And then, the footprints. Emerging from the white abyss, a trail of footsteps leading straight to their cabin door, but no signs of any visitor. No knock on the door, no voice calling out for help. Just footprints, a chilling testament to an unseen presence. The friends were no strangers to the wilderness. They knew the signs of wildlife, the tracks of a bear or a wolf. But these were different. They were too human. And they were fresh, the edges sharp and crisp against the freshly fallen snow. And then came the encounter. An entity, a shadowy figure glimpsed from the corner of the eye, a flash of movement, a fleeting silhouette against the snow-laden landscape. It was there, and then it wasn't. An apparition, a phantom of the storm. The friends could not agree on what they saw. Some said it was a trick of the light, others a manifestation of their mounting fear. But they all agreed on one thing: they were not alone. In the heart of the storm, the friends found themselves not alone, but in the company of a nameless terror. A terror that lingered in the shadows, that watched from the edge of the blizzard, that tread silent footprints in the snow. In the chilling silence, their worst fears had indeed come to life. Their screams were lost in the storm, swallowed by the relentless blizzard. As we journeyed through the frosty fears and chilling chronicles, we've seen the true horror that a snowstorm can unleash. The biting cold, the blinding white, the deafening silence, all combine to create an atmosphere thick with dread and anticipation. Remember, in our first tale, the hapless travelers were not only battling the elements, but also a sinister presence that seemed to be always one step behind, their fear heightened by the isolation and the unknown. The terror of the situation was not just in the physical ordeal, but in the mental torment of not knowing what lurked in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike. The second chronicle, too, was a testament to the horrifying power of isolation and the unknown. A seemingly benign snowstorm turned into a nightmarish ordeal as the cold crept in, the panic setting in as the realization dawned that escape was impossible. The frost-bitten fears of the stranded, their desperation palpable, was a stark reminder of the terror that can grip us when we're at the mercy of nature. Both stories highlight the true horror of being trapped and isolated during a snowstorm, with an unknown threat lurking. It's not just about the physical struggle against the elements, but also the psychological terror that comes with being alone, with no help in sight, and an unseen menace lurking in the shadows. As we've seen, a snowstorm can quickly turn from a beautiful spectacle of nature into a deadly trap, where every sound could be a threat, every shadow a potential danger. The line between reality and nightmare blurs, leaving only a chilling tale of terror behind. So, as the snow falls and the wind howls, remember these tales. Remember the terror that a simple snowstorm can bring, the isolation, the unknown, the fear. And remember, in the midst of a snowstorm, the line between reality and nightmare blurs, leaving only a chilling tale of terror behind.